Okay, good morning everyone, and Chazak. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Thursday morning as we are studying together Parashat Beshalach. And of course, our Parashat talks about the splitting of the sea, but our Parashat also talks about another miracle, a miracle of the Mahn, okay, the manna. Pasuk says, Hineni mamtir lachem lechem min hashamayim. For 40 years, it rained every single morning, dew, and in that dew came a special bread called the Mahn. They called it Mahn because they actually didn't know what it was. Mahu, what is it? And from that Mahn, Mahu became Mahn. What is it? Mahu, Mahn. Okay. So we ate Mahn for 40 years. And it lasted all the way literally till we entered Israel. And then the Mahn stopped. There's a lot of fascinating things about the Mahn. It's a segula for parnasa to read this week, the Parashat Haman. It's a segula for money. We like that one. Anyways, I want to read you what the Midrash has to say about the Mahn, this miracle of the bread coming from the heavens. Hadahu dichtiv, this actually could be understood, and that's what it means when we say every day, Pote'ah Yadecha, umasbi'a lechol ratzon. There is a special pasuk, it's a pasuk of parnasa, Pote'ah et Yadecha. We say it every day in the Ashrei. The Midrash says, the Gemara says, Masechet Berachot, very praiseworthy things of a person who says Ashrei every day 3 times. Ashrei is a very special prayer in Tehillim. I think it's 145 if I'm not mistaken. And what makes Ashrei special more than any other psalm, says the Gemara, because it has 2 things. First of all, it goes in order, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, right? Avarecha Adonai Elohecha, right? Bechol Yom Avarecheka, Gadol Adonai Mula Me'od, Dor Ledor. Sorry, the first pasuk, Aromimcha Elokai HaMelech. Okay, Aromimcha Aleph. Either way, it goes on Aleph, Bet, Gimel. And then you have that's one reason why it's special. And on top of that, it's special because it has this pasuk, Pote'ah et Yadecha. And I'm not a Kabbalist, but the Ben Ish Chai writes that the first 3 letters of Pote'ah et Yadecha, Pei Aleph Yud, is a very powerful name for Parnasa. Pei Aleph Yud. And that's the initials of Pote'ah et Yadecha. It's Gematria 91. 91 we know is also a very powerful number. Malach, angel. Amen, 91. So Pote'ah et Yadecha is 91 is powerful. It's the key to Parnasa. Again, I don't know what that means. I'm just repeating what I read. So says the Midrash that the Mahn is what we say, Pote'ah et Yadecha. So to explain this, the Midrash elaborates. Bo ure'eh, come and see. Shelo midat ba'kadosh baruch hu midat basar vadam. God is not like man. Midat basar vadam, because man calls man she'asfog beyado. I want you guys to do an experiment later today. Or you could just imagine it if you don't want to do the experiment. But imagine you're holding a sponge filled with water. Imagine you're holding a sponge. What happens if you leave your hand open? Pote'ah et yado. Does any water come out of that sponge? Imagine you're holding a sponge and you just leave your hand like this. What happens? En tipa yored, not a drop will come out of that sponge. Kafat yado, if you squeeze your hand, Humorid mayim, it emits water. That's man. Aval HaKadosh Baruch Hu enoken, God is not like that. Hasfog beyado, if the sponge is in his hand, like it says, Peleg Elohim alemayim, God's peleg is filled with water. Mimadad besha'alo mayim, when God's sponge is in the hand, im atzar, if he squeezes, en hamayim yordin, if God closes his fist, no water will come down. No beracha comes if God closes his hands. Like it says in the pasuk, Hen ya'atzor b'mayim ve'yibashu. If he restrains the waters and they dry up. However, when he opens his hand, Pote'ah et Yadecha, umasbi'a lechol ratzon, and all the rain falls. Isn't that a beautiful idea? That when man opens his hands, nothing happens. But when Hashem opens his hands, everything happens. I guess it's the idea of an open hand is the idea of giving space, allowing people, allowing events to run their natural course. If I open my hand, it's giving freedom, letting things just happen organically. Some people, they like to have a tight fist. They like to control the situation. They like to play out the entire thing from the beginning till the end. No room for anyone, for any other opinion, for curveballs. They need to know exactly what's going to be the dominating personality. That's called closed fist. They're tight. They're tight. They're controlling everything. So that represents people with a closed fist. Hashem doesn't run the world with closed fists. Man sometimes prefers, we want to be in control. Hashem says, I'll let you take control. Hashem gives us free will. That's a wild thing. How many times, right? We think about that. How many times we make wrong choices? Bad choices. If we're God's children, He could have controlled us. He could have made us not do the wrong choice, but He allows us to make choices in life, to learn. It's a very sad thing that sometimes as parents, we take away the free will from our children. God gave us free will and then we take it away. We have to remember that to be like God means to open our hands, to allow those around us to make sometimes the wrong choice. They have to learn, they have to live. It's their life. The hardest thing for a parent is to let go. At a certain point, it's going to happen. Then you become like God, or you stand by and you watch. It's hard. But that's what Hashem does. Pote'ah et Yadecha, God opens His hands. And by Him opening His hands, beracha comes. Well, Midrash continues. Umasbi'a lechol ratzon. Now, when we say this pasuk in the Ashrei, we should open up our hands as if to receive the beracha. God's giving, so we're receiving. We're also opening our hands as if to say, I'm learning from you, God. If you're going to open, I'm also going to open my hands to those around me. I'm going to start being giving. I'm going to start being caring. Pote'ah et Yadecha. So when God opens, He allows beracha to come. And pasuk ends off and says, umasbi'a lechol ratzon. He satisfies every living creature. Umasbi'a lechol ratzon. What does that mean, ratzon? With what they want, their desire. Says the Midrash, it doesn't say lechol mazon. It doesn't say He gives everyone what they need. Rather, He gives everyone what they want. And that is a very powerful idea. God will give you what you want in life. The way a person in life wants to go, God will let you go. God, part of His open hand policy. And you see how the two halves of the pasuk really, they flow very nicely. Because God opens His hands, because He gives us free will. So now He also allows us to live based on what we want, not what we need. And it's not always better to have what you want. A lot of times we want something that's not so good for us. A lot of times we want more money, we want more houses, more cars, and we pursue it, and God will give it to you. Whatever you want. Whatever you feel you need to be full, God says, okay, I'll give it to you. Very sad thing. Because really food should be something that I eat as a means to an end. I eat so that I can have energy, so that I can now go and live. Eating is not living. Eating is it's like filling up a car with gasoline. The gas is so that you can now go and drive. It would be the biggest blessing if I had a car that I could fill it up and it only needed 1 gallon to drive 500 miles. No one says I want to fill it up with 50 gallons to take me 500 miles. You would rather less gallons, more mileage. Some people in life, they are smart. They say, I need less to live. I only want 1 gallon to take me 500 miles. I'm okay with X amount a year. I'm okay with this amount of food, this amount of house, this amount of vacation. I'm okay. And God says, okay, if that's what you want, that's what you'll get. You'll be able to live. 1 gallon will give you 500 miles. That's a very beautiful thing. That's a big beracha. Pasuk says later on in Shemitah that a person's not going to be able to work on Shemitah every 7th year. But the Pasuk says, but God will bless you because you'll eat a little bit and you'll be full. That's the biggest blessing, that I can eat a little bit and be full. Umasbi'a lechol ratzon. God will feed you however much you think you need to eat. You decide what's considered wealthy. For some people, making $100,000, they're billionaires, they're rich, and they walk around happy. They have everything they need. And they're happy. And some people, they're making 50 million and they're miserable. They need 100 million to be happy. God says, okay, that's what you need. Let's try to get you there. You have a lot of people that they're making good salary. They're living life. They're making a lot of money. But in their mind, they told themselves that they need a much bigger number than that. God says, okay, if that's what you need, then that's what you're going to need. Go ahead, let's try to get you there. It's a very sad thing to need more. Ideally in life, the trick, the name of the game, is to be content with less. Because then I can be happier faster. See, happiness is just having what I need. But having what I need is relative. A person who needs less has it faster, has happiness faster. A person who needs more will not get there till he gets happiness. It's all relative. It's a figment of our imagination, what happiness is. You have kids could be playing in the hose in the street. That's their vacation, and they're jumping with joy. They're the happiest. They have no idea what it means to fly private. They don't know. They're very happy. Truly, genuinely happy. Life is great. Everything's good. There's not a worry in their mind. And there's people that they could be in a private boat and they're miserable. You decide what you need to live. Umasbi'a lechol ratzon. Hashem says, I'll give you what you want. Trick in life is to try to want and to learn to need less. If you remember Yaakov Avinu, when he sends his sons down to Egypt to get food, he says, Shuvru shivrulanu me'at ochel. He says to his kids, go and get us a little bit of food. Learn to lehistapek bamu'at. Learn to suffice with a little bit. It's enough. In life, we have to train ourselves. We have to train our children. You don't need everything you want. Learn to be happy with what you need. Learn to do with the minimum, not the maximum. Lihistapek, must speak. It's enough. We got to learn that. Hashem's Pote'ah et Yadecha, because God lives not with a tight fist. A tight fist controls, but He lives with an open fist. Allows us free will. So He's umasbi'a lechol ratzon. And so every person has to now make whatever they want to make. Well, v'chen le'atid lavo, says the Midrash, He's going to give you what you want, and that's how it's going to be in the future. Noten HaKadosh Baruch Hu lekol echad ve'echad kol ma shehu mevakesh. Im tameh ata ladavar, if you're going to be astonished about this, that God is going to really give everyone whatever they want. Re'eh ma'aseh Yisrael ba'olam hazeh, look at what He did to the Jewish people in this world. Shorid lahem aman shaya bo mikol minei te'amim. He brought down the man that had all types of flavors. Every Jew would taste whatever he desired, whatever he wanted. Like it says in Devarim, Ze 40 shana Adonai Elohecha imach lo hasarta davar. You weren't lacking a thing. It says the Midrash, ma davar, what does it mean, a thing? Literally, davar means the bur word. When a person wanted to eat davar, something, Haya omer befiv, he would say in his mouth, Iluleh hayali bitma had lechol, if only I could eat right now some fatty meat. Boom. Miyad haya na'aseh letoch piv ta'am hapitma. He would taste fattened meat. Davar hayu omrim v'akadosh baruch hu oseh retzonam. They would speak and God would fulfill. Rabbi Abbas says even further, they didn't even have to speak. He would just have to think, and it would taste. Unbelievable. So umasbi'a lechol ratzon, God gave everyone whatever they want, like in the desert, whatever taste they wanted. They were in the mood of pizza, they were in the mood of falafel, shawarma, they wanted tart, they wanted something sweet, savory, whatever you wanted, you tasted. Matter of fact, you should know that there are 3 pesukim that contradict. One says, "V'ta'amo ketzapihid b'dvash," it tasted like cake fried in honey. One says, "Lehem," bread. And one says, "V'haya ta'amo keta'am leshad hashamin." One says it tasted like oil. So what was it? Honey, oil, or bread? Bahurim, answers the Gemara, the Midrash, says the youth, they would taste bread. Zekanim, dvash, elderly with honey. Tinokot, the children, shemen, oil. In other words, everyone got what they needed. The children that are trying to get strong to sustain them, they would have bread. The elderly people, they would taste honey. The young children, they're trying to get strong and fat, they would taste oil. So here we have a beautiful midrash about this idea that Hashem opens His hands. The Meshech Chochmah explains, what does that mean that God opens His hands? What does that mean that He gives freedom? He says that means that Hashem does not give us in a way that He's obvious. Sometimes a person gives, make it very clear that they're giving. Here you go. They make you feel it, they make you know it, they make you thank them 1,000 times. Hashem's not like that. Hashem, He gives open. He's hiding in nature. Hashem created a system where there's nature. That's how He wanted the system to be. He's controlling nature from behind. He doesn't interfere. He can, He has, but He willingly, constantly chooses to allow the world to run on its own through the system of nature that He started. And it's man's job to see Hashem in nature, to see Hashem in the teva. Not to forget that when it rains, it's actually God making it rain. And when it suns, it's actually God bringing the sun. And then when we have food on the table, it's actually God that put that food on my table. It's all camouflaged in nature, but it's really all divine. Sometimes Hashem had to come down and remind the people, it's me. But Hashem prefer we get there on our own. So when I take a food and I say, Baracha, Motzi lechem min haaretz, God, you made this bread from the ground. It's an illusion that I made the bread. I know you made the bread. You made it grow, you made the rain, you gave me the energy to put it all together. You think about how many things go right in the food chain, in the world that we live in, all the miracles that are needed. That all the animals eat different foods, different plants, and all the plants that need different soils. Different species depend on one another for sustenance. And the whales, and they need certain animals, and animals need the whales, and it's an unbelievable thing how all of the nature works in harmony together. It's an amazing thing. Just watch the, Animal Planet. You see Bishtabah Shemo. Marabu ma'asecha Hashem. You see God's wonders. And the bees and the pollen and honey and oxygen and carbon dioxide. Everything needs something else, and we're all mutually in this together. A person has to realize that every morning, and you wake up and you look through the world and you walk on the street. Wow, Hashem, you're amazing. You're amazing. This is all you. The Ramban writes that if a person doesn't believe that every tiny thing that happens in the world is Hashem, En lahem helek belokei Israel, they have no portion in the Jewish people, in the God of Israel. A person has to realize and recognize that even the tiniest miracle is God behind the scenes. For me breathing, everything. That's why the Gemara says, if a person says Hallel every day, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Hallel every day. Hallel praises God for Yetziat Mitzrayim and all the miracles. Says the Gemara on Shabbat, page Kuf Yod Het 118. Blasphemy! You're only thanking God for the miracles? You got to realize God's everywhere. God's everything. Not only for Mitzrayim. God is here today, now, 2025. You're implying that your admire for Hashem is focused primarily on the open miracles. That you could do supernatural things. As if the natural is not Hashem. Not allowed to do that. That's why the word Elokim, numerically, is Hateva. Nature. Elokim is nature. God is nature. On the other hand, the rabbis say, whoever says Ashrei 3 times a day is blessed. Will have parnasah, guaranteed into the next world. What makes Ashrei special? If you remember, we said in the beginning of the class, 2 things. Ashrei has Aleph, Bet, Gimal, and it has Pote'ah et Yadecha. Gemara means to say it's in alphabetical order. That means that the sequential pattern of the alphabet, the Aleph, Bet, Gimal, and the Ashrei, symbolizes the world's natural order. Aleph, Bet, Gimal, sunrise, sunset, air, oxygen, grass, dioxide, trees, plants, born, death. There's a natural flow. Aleph, Bet, Gimal. It goes in order. There's a system. Ashrei has a system. But you know what makes that system powerful? Is when the Jew recognizes in the middle of that system, Pote'ah et Yadecha, God, you're the one doing it all. How beautiful is that? You understand the depth of Ashrei? It's not that it's Aleph, Bet, Gimal, and it's Pote'ah et Yadecha. What do the two have to do with each other? The two have to do. Because Aleph, Bet, Gimal means there's nature. But then Pote'ah et Yadecha means I recognize God's in the nature. Mwah! That's a beautiful piece from the Mishra Chochmah. A person realizes that God is the provider. And so we had the Mahn for 40 years. And a person may say, why we don't have miracles like that today? A person's got to realize and recognize that the rain that came today is just as miraculous as the Mahn. There's no difference. You think about a baby being born. Is that less of a miracle than the Mahn? That a little drop can make a human being? How is that not a miracle? Person's got to train themselves to see Hashem in nature. To realize umasbi'a, lechol, ratzon, God, you are the one doing it. Man is miracle, and so is every other day. A miracle. And that is something that we have to work on, opening our eyes. Not only Pote'ah et Yadecha, but Pote'ah et Einecha. We got to start opening our eyes and realizing Hashem's blessings in everything we do and everywhere we go. Okay, we'll stop over here, my friends. Have a wonderful day. And hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.